think we are live, Councillor Westgate.
Okay, thank you. We'll call the meeting to order. Anybody with a conflict of interest declared at the proper time. First on the agenda is the streets are going to present the gravel road study, I take it. Are you going to do that, Chris? Or
yes. Yep. So
floor is yours.
Catherine is here as well from our office. A few of you have met her. She's been here a few years now. She's fantastic. Heavily involved in preparation of this report and a lot of the tabulation and number crunching. So the report as a whole was, I believe, the first you've ever had done on your gravel roads. It involved analysis of a total of 132 kilometers of gravel roads in the township. What we did essentially, we drove every roadway 2 or 3 times, got out, measured widths, lengths, noted concerns, tabulated them per roadway, per block essentially. It's listed in our design standards on the detailed figures. Each block is given a specific name, which I believe is in liaison with your asset management plan, if I'm not mistaken, for consistency. So they've all been analyzed for existing condition, given a rating and an applicable letter, A through F. To be honest, the roads overall are in quite good shape, which is somewhat the end result of what we found. In liaison primarily with Andrew, we did obtain various pieces of information from Warwick's database. You do have a granular roadway template every year where I believe township staff essentially, whether you drive them all or not, I'm not sure, but you have a procedure in place where you have a certain budget in mind. You order a specific amount of granulars and calcium chloride as well for dust control. And you determine each year, early on in the year, which roadways will receive it, which ones are warranted, somewhat based on usage as well as visual. So what we did, we compared our initial findings with some of the information Andrew had provided. I believe we had 2018, 2019, and 2020. It was basically a map of the township marked up with the roads you had done those years. We were given the volume of material that was used and the applicable cost. So we have interpreted and incorporated those numbers into our report. Overall, we did our analysis, we did our ratings, we compared it with what the township has done in the last few years. I believe the job essentially started off by saying, you know, pick a road. Any road would be done typically every second year. So years 1, 3, and 5, and the others were 2, 4, and 6. Our first template was essentially that, and upon further review, the numbers were deemed extremely high, and it wasn't truly applicable with what you have done in the last 3-4 years. So we tweaked it. We had lengthy discussions and meetings to go from our initial draft report and costs to what's now the final. And we geared it towards the 2019 and 2020 budgets you've had for these. We applied, I believe, 5% inflation to them. And those gave us our years 1 to 6 target costs. For expenditures, we looked at many of the roadways, and it was deemed some of them, in fact, receive granular top up every year. Some are every 2, some are in fact never. So based on our initial draft cost summary, which was quite high, it's been tweaked based on, well, a more detailed discussion we've had about what's typically done. So what's taken place then and what's in this final report is numbers that we all agree on, I believe, that are acceptable. They're very close to what the target costs are for the township budget for the upcoming 6 years. While acknowledging at the start of each year, this report lists years 1 through 6. It still can be certainly tweaked as required based on findings at the start of each new year. Traffic patterns may not change much per se, but as far as we understand, the township does and will still continue to analyze all roads at the start of each year, with or without this report, and there may need to be some tweaks. There might be a certain roadway that's for whatever reason been deemed to be in dire need of repair, when perhaps we had it in years 2, 4, and 6. So while acknowledging we're happy with the report, the costs we've suggested for years 1 through 6 are very close to being in line with your estimated target budgets. There's flexibility in this that I think we can all appreciate based on your patterns over the past 3, 4 years. So, Andrew's gone through it in a fair amount of detail. I think Trevor has as well, just to guide us to, let's say, more applicable overall costs that are in line with your budget. And I think we've done that. There's a lot of detail in this report. The figures are an easy find to say what our initial ratings were. They're color coded by A through F. The cost charts at the back are very specific for what we're recommending. Most of them essentially are top-ups, whether it's every year for some, every 2 years for others, and to be honest, a lot of the roads have been deemed that they very rarely need it, and there are several roads in here that have no cost. So it's been tweaked under a lot of guidance from Andrew. Catherine was involved in a lot of the, I'll say, final tweaking of the numbers based on what we found, and a lot of them were very site specific. For this block, yes; this block, no. So we're happy with it. The only anomaly on the whole scope is a specific block of Hickory. I believe it's called HIC 07 in the report, that we've recommended get a full reconstruction. And I believe it's about $142,000. So that's the only column of years 1 through 6 where the dollars don't match your budget. It's the only one-off where it's roughly 140,000 above what your typical budget will be. That's the only road in here that we've truly said needs a full reconstruction. And while we've said we recommend it in year 1, the rest of Hickory is in very good shape. This is the final block. I think it's the most easterly before it hits Town's End. It's narrow, it's not in great shape, and it is a through road. So again, we've recommended it in year 1. If it's decided that the budget isn't there, it can certainly wait till year 2 or 3. We've recommended it in year 1, and if the budget isn't there, it can certainly wait. But in an overall sense, the gravel roads are in very good shape, which is a positive thing for Warwick, that your procedures over the past several years for topping them up is working. So we're happy with it. We're confident in our findings, and we think it matches the budget projection that you forecasted and I believe have available. But so yeah, we're happy with it. If you have any questions, we're certainly here to answer them.
Well, thank you, Chris. Has anybody got any questions for Chris? Wayne, you're muted.
The railroad safety part, is that our responsibilities or CN's, the signs?
For the signs of railroads?
Yeah, on your report, there's a bunch under safety. And a lot of them are railroad crossings.
Yes.
Is that ours or is that CN's?
We have put a lot of signs in here. I didn't really touch on that. There is an element to this that is signage alone. And in line with our asphalt studies that we've done for you before, we had a lot of those, and they're somewhat the easier, cheaper items to do. It's my impression that that is your responsibility to have the proper signage.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I think once it's pointed out as a safety item, it becomes kind of important.
Yep. No doubt.
On Hickory, if we redid the whole thing, should we tar and chip it, or what's your feeling on tar and chip?
I believe the rest of it, well, obviously it's gravel right now.
Yes,
Right.
the whole thing is gravel.
We did put some optional costs in here. They're in the report. I don't recall what page right now. We did put in some unit rates to convert some of these, and a lot of it is just based on intended use. I'll be honest, tar and chip has its merits, but I do believe Hickory roads sections 1 through 6, I believe, were all A's for us, and they were in quite good shape. So the only one of Hickory that was deemed, I believe it was an F, was the last one. It was 7. We did put some costs in here for consideration, you know, based on square meters of going to tar and chip. It has its merit. It certainly isn't as durable as asphalt, but there is merit to it for sure. But it does raise other issues as well. I don't think it was warranted from our review of Hickory. To be honest, it seemed as though the first 6 blocks were in quite good shape.
But the roads that are in good shape are the ones that tar and chip, because they're the ones that are going to stand up. And
Well,
then
yeah.
you save on dust control, you save on putting gravel, you save on grading. Is it not cheaper in the long run to have tar and chip? I know in wintertime grading and stuff, we need to put a truck on it, right, Andrew?
Yeah, for gravel, or you still need to,
For snow removal.
for snow removal, still needs to be ice bladed. There's no salt, but they are ice bladed in the wintertime.
The tar and chip ones?
Tar and chip they need full winter control.
Yeah.
So sand, salt.
So it takes a little more for winter control, but we save on dust control and grading.
Correct.
Yeah, Jerry, I know we do have costs in here for it. I know the asphalt study would have included tar and chip roads in that report. If that's a specific request, I can certainly add to it, whether it's in this report or not. We could address that as a separate issue and just confirm.
I guess I looked at your report, and the roads that you said should be tarred and chipped, or you suggested tarred and chipped, were roads like Underpass Road, the rest of it, which really has no houses on it.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about dust control. It's a low traffic road. Where Hickory Creek, it gets used a lot.
Yep.
And the other road was from Arcona Road, from Egremont through to Brook Township, and that road doesn't get used too much. There's
Yeah.
only about 2 houses on it, and they're both at on the 4th line there.
Yeah, we did have a few sections in here where it was noticed while looking at certain roadways that I'll say certain blocks of it were hard surface,
Yeah.
and some were not. And it was in here more for consistency of the road type than the actual need. It was more that, and I think it would be these roads where certain blocks were hard surface, and there were perhaps 1 or 2 that were still gravel. It was more for consideration of consistency of that road.
Yes, I see your reasoning, but as far as I'm concerned, I would like to put it on a road that has more houses on.
Yes.
It's used more.
Yep. Understood.
Has anybody else have questions for Chris? Wayne?
Chris, there wasn't much mentioned about Brickyard line from, correct me if I'm wrong here, from 79 to Sexton. It's still gravel. We had a lot of complaints on that road. last year because our winter was kind of rough. Is it in good shape by your report?
Brickyard line,
Yes.
The area you're describing was suggested as one of the roads to consider tar and chip, I believe, on page 23 of the report.
Yes. And I agree with tar and chipping the rest of that one.
tar and chip. Okay, tar and chip upgrade, $20 in inflation rate. Yep. And for those, we did include, assuming, to be clear, these granular costs for overtopping, there's no engineering in there. This is just intended as your normal procedure. These costs we have for potential tar and chip do include our assumption that it would be some form of actual tender package, whether it is or not with engineering. That's intended to be in here. So we do have it in there for consideration. Brickyard alone, our estimate was about $573,000.
Okay, I see that. Thank you.
And I had certain pages flagged. That wasn't one of them, but that's definitely one. And again, some of them, we haven't recommended it per se. The dollar amounts for that is well, obviously it's over $500,000. It's hard for me to say it's warranted, for that amount. I believe our ratings for Brickyard were, I believe, they were all A's. I believe we had 4 sections of Brickyard and they were all A. They're not currently showing problems per se, but again, it's a high amount. I didn't want to go in here and say, yep, make it tar and chip, 600,000. That's 50% more than your current budget for all granular roads. We've tried to give options here of what the costs are, while concentrating on your typical pattern of granular top-ups and matching the dollars to the best we could. Certainly some of them might be more warranted from your knowledge as opposed to ours of heavy use. We did analyze 3 or 4 roads in here as well with the traffic counts, and they were deemed the busier roads. I believe Andrew had guided us into that, and the results of it were the volumes we saw were not something that would suggest it would need to be switched inherently from gravel that appears to be in good shape to a hard surface. I believe it's our final appendix in this report is the pyramids traffic counts. Nothing in there stood out to us as being extremely high numbers to warrant going to hard surface. But again, we do have costs in here for your review of what it would be.
I think it's a real upgrade. It's like in town going from just a paved road to having curbs and gutters to have it tar and chip. It's what the people are looking for and want.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on budget.
Well, I think it truly does. Yes. Yes.
Jackie?
Yeah, I was just wondering what of these recommendations will be included in this year's budget. Andrew, do you know, certainly the safety issues I would think should be with the signage and the F roads that you've identified.
Yeah, that's correct. Currently, we did not include the section of Hickory Creek line. I think Hickory Creek labeled as number 7 with the 142,000. At this point, we haven't included that in the budget. So right now we've included, I believe, an anticipated increase in gravel dollar amount. So inflation for the gravel. So other than that, we're following in line with the report minus that 142,000 additional recommendation for year 1. So we do not have that in there. as a preliminary proposal for the budget.
Wayne?
The roads that you have under F and B, a lot of these roads are closed off because of the 402. Your price estimates there, is that to bring them up to an A-class road from an F?
If they were F roads, I believe it would be, yes.
Well, like,
Yeah,
these
I'd
roads-
have,
sorry,
no, go ahead.
these roads definitely need some upgrade, but I don't think they need to go to an A road. I think if they're, they need gravel and they need to be graded, but I don't think they need to go up to an A road.
Yeah, that may be. I know we do have some dead end roads several that we had flagged. And I believe a lot of them were, I'll say almost removed from the list in discussions with Andrew because for obvious reasons, they're not through roads and limited number of homes. So that's another item that was taken into account here in these. There are certain roads that are zero in this whole chart. And I believe several of them, if not most, would be some of these dead end roads. But there is some merit to what you're saying. Do they all need to be brought to an A? I believe if there are costs in here, I'll be honest. Catherine, do you know if that's in fact true? Did we take all the Fs and quote them as As?
They won't become A's. We're typically doing dead end roads every 4 years. So their condition will improve, but they won't be A's.
Okay. Sorry, did you hear that?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So I believe of all the Fs, the only one that may have been recommended for full recon is Hickory 07.
Okay.
Yep. And if you didn't hear what
No.
Catherine said there, a lot of the dead end roads were specified as getting top ups. I believe it's every 4 years. And I believe that's in line with your current patterns. And again, it's a bit vague. I agree for sure with this. It's hard to take into account dead end roads with 2 people on it. How do you treat that versus a through road with 50 homes? It is different. Your volumes are different. You affect more people. So, and at the end of the day, this report is a great guide per year, while acknowledging from our end that the township will review all of these roads at the start of each year and analyze and say, okay, this is what Screed had, but this one we think can wait. And in year 1, it can go to year 2, and some from year 2 might have to switch. I have no doubt that will probably take place every year.
Well, thank you. This gives us a good base to go off of for our budget anyway, and a plan in the future. So unless anybody else, Jackie?
Just gonna say that this was a very good year for our gravel roads. Like the complaints on our gravel roads have gone down to nothing in my end. I don't know about staff. The only complaint I received this year was that we were grading them too much. So, yeah. We had a very good spring for the roads. The roads look fantastic this year. I think part of that is an upgrade in the gravel that we used. And I know I've had comments from the public about that as well. So it was, if you're going to do a study, I guess this would be the year to do it, but just depends on from year to year too. So.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Chris
No problem. You're welcome.
and Catherine.
Have a good
Appreciate
day.
the study.
Amanda, do you need a motion to receive and file that report?
Yes.
Would actually ask for an approval motion if you wish for it to be continually rolled into our budget process, understanding that through that budget process, it would also be a living document based on annual observations, changing road conditions, and budget allocations.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Thank you, Jackie. Todd? Second it. All in favor? Good, thank you. Next is correspondence, off-road vehicle changes. Are you bringing this forward, Andrew? It says-
Councillor Westgate, I'll speak to it. So
Okay,
it's just provided for your information on new rules regarding off-road vehicles. As you know, in Warwick Township, quite a few years ago, we've made the previous decision not to regulate ATV traffic on our municipal roadways and allow them continue to be monitored and enforced through the Highway Traffic Act and the local policing authority. That being said, we thought it was just useful information for council to be made aware of.
so right now, it's against the law to drive a four-wheeler in the road?
No, it isn't. Is
No,
it?
as long as it's licensed and plated
Uh,
and insured, you can.
are we sure?
I'm not sure, no.
We were supposed to
I'm
pass it.
fairly sure. It came up because
It come up, but at
came
the
up.
time, I'm not sure we passed it.
We did not pass anything. Our approach
No,
at the
it's the
time
provincial.
was to allow the province to continue to regulate the roadways, not pass anything from a municipal perspective, because enforcement of any municipal bylaws regarding ATVs is challenging, costly, and I think likely ineffective. So we just allowed the Highway Traffic Act to continue to regulate. I maybe if they're licensed, they might be permitted, but it's not a municipal
I'm
regulation.
sure
We don't
they
have
are.
any municipal regulations.
Well, I remember we had this discussion a long time ago. And at that time, if we didn't make a bylaw to say it was allowed, it was not allowed. I thought we had made that bylaw.
I'm not familiar with such a bylaw, Councillor Morris.
Would that be something you could investigate and bring forward?
Because
I would need a little more clarity on what I'd be directed to do, but of course I can take direction from the committee.
I would like to know if it's legal to drive an ATV that's licensed and insured on our roads.
Todd,
I know we use them on the farm, and our understanding is that, as Wayne said, if it's licensed and insured and you're wearing a helmet, it can be used as a runner vehicle.
if you're going from farm to farm,
Yeah, yeah.
but for me to take my four-wheeler out onto the road,
I don't know
I
how,
don't think it's legal,
okay,
but we could make it legal.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of
And we'd be
people around.
responsible to enforce it, Councillor West, yeah.
Yes,
or
Okay.
not to enforce it, really.
right now they're doing it and it's not enforced, but they are doing it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think we need to investigate this and find out exactly what we have, maybe contact the OPP to get their input. But right now, I'm sure they're allowed on the roads, and I thought Jerry could drive his out to my place if he wanted to. So I'm confused.
I'm quite sure we didn't pass it and I'm not allowed to drive it.
Mm.
But
people
you
from
can come out
town
if you
do,
want.
What's that?
people from town do all the time. I'm not saying that they're allowed to, but they do it.
They do it. Yes.
I think there's a difference in the practice versus the policy, certainly. And the difference is would the municipality like to regulate it to have to enforce the practice or the policy? And we've historically, at least during my time with the municipality, stayed away from that and just allowed Highway Traffic Act to continue to apply and enforcement to occur through that process.
But we can pass a bylaw that will let them.
Yes.
And I would like to do that if if there's enough.
Yeah, I agree.
I would support that.
Guess I just put this here for information, not for a project to make a new bylaw for enforcement. So,
Regretting that inclusion, or
great. So I might ask, since there will be substantial time and effort required into this research project, I would actually ask for a motion from my council to direct the CAO clerk and the public works manager, Andrew, to complete research into off-road vehicles and applicability of municipal bylaws and bring a report back to council for information.
You make that motion, Wayne?
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Todd? All in favor? I know my daughter had one just to go to my brother's and cut down a little Christmas tree. She brought it back home. The cops stopped her at home and wouldn't let her bring it back to my place. I had to go get a trailer, load it, and bring it back to my place.
In terms of timeline, does council have any direction on priority regarding this issue?
End
I
of
know
the
it's
year,
gonna
is
take
that
you a
possible?
while. I know I do like to take mine with the plow on it over to my grandsons and plow out their driveways with it.
Would the end of the year be possible, Amanda, that we could pass the bylaw, or is that too quick?
That leaves us 3 council meetings before that time. Anything's possible. So
I agree with Jerry, though. I'd like to see it passed, that off-road vehicles, because wouldn't snowmobiles be under the same?
Yes,
And like, hate to see guys that, like, the snowmobile club in Warwick saved the day at Highway 402. Like, and then the next day we tail them and they're breaking the law. I don't think that's right. I'd like to see this turned around and solved.
So I'll suggest for council's consideration that an information report be brought back to our next Public Works Committee meeting on October 28th. That would then give council time to have the information and direct any bylaws to be approved at a future council meeting. And there would be 2 more scheduled opportunities in the year to pass the applicable bylaw. If that works.
thank you.
Yeah, good.
thank you, I'd appreciate that.
Now that we've cost Amanda more work. A public works update, Andrew?
Thank you, Councillor Westgate. I'll just go over kind of the highlights of the report. Wasn't terribly long ago that I had another report, but the updates to this report would be the law's 20-year capital plan. So we recently had a presentation brought to the technical committee, and essentially they've come up with a preliminary plan to increase the water flows to Warwick at a reasonable cost. While they haven't attached the cost to it, they do have a preliminary plan that will be brought to the board at the next meeting. So yep, Mayor Rombas, I think you're going to be excited to see it. Clinton was extremely excited once they came up with the kind of a alternate plans and costs, and they're very hopeful that they can do projects in East Lambton, West Lambton, and really get all the projects going. So it's really encouraging. So
That's fantastic.
Yep. So I think it's great news for the township. So that's first notable thing. At a previous Public Works meeting, I believe there was a request to have a look at the lights at the crosswalk downtown. So I've made a few phone calls and I've asked for a price. And now there are some limitations because they're decorative poles. It becomes challenging to drill holes in the material without the pole cracking or failing or chipping. And of course, if you just strap lighting to the outside of it, it can be unsightly. So we've asked for any alternatives, and let's look at all the possibilities to put up lights. Simple answer, it can be done. Just how is it going to look? So but I'm waiting for that price from the electrical contractor on that one. The other request I had was to come up with costing for paving the parking lot that's adjacent to the downtown development. I'm waiting for those costs, but there is a lot of, I guess, do you want, it's not as simple as just paving the parking lot. I guess that's the gist of it. As it is, you can't just slap on some pavement and call it a day. Right now there's existing lighting. I'm not even sure if it works, but it's there. So obviously, would we want to replace the lights, do curbs? Then you talk about, drainage. So there's a lot of factors. It could be quite costly, but I am working at kind of a really high level pricing for that, just to give us an idea. And I think then I'll require a little more direction. Which way?
Todd?
Is that something we could roll into some street projects and paving projects we have coming next summer? Like for that? Like the parking lot to get some better pricing?
It's possible that you could lump it in with that project for preferred, for a little preferred pricing, or as well as the downtown development. There's multiple options.
Okay.
But just a heads up that it could, depending on what the vision is, it could be costly, but it also doesn't need to be. It could be gravel. You could leave it gravel.
Mhm.
It all depends on the wishes of what council would want.
I think a lot's going to depend on the uses in the new corner up there.
Hmm.
And how much, we're going to have quite a bit of parking, but if we need more, I would like to see it gravelled for a little while, and then if it's used a lot, you just put asphalt on it.
Mhm.
We have to look at drainage first too.
Mhm.
Yes, Jackie?
Just the light standards that are up there now are quite ugly. And if they're not working, I wouldn't mind seeing them come down. If they're just there for decoration, they're not very pretty. And
agree.
same with some of the bushes and stuff along the bridge there. Would be nice if some of those trees and stuff were cut down just to clean it up a bit, but yeah, I agree with Jerry. I don't think that we need to pave it right away. Be nice to see what's gonna happen going into the future here a little bit. See what the needs.
What's everybody's opinion on lighting though? Once we put a parking lot in this township, are we obligated to put some lighting in for security? I would think. I don't know for sure.
I believe there was lighting shown on the site plan, was there not?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
I could go back to it here, but
Usually there is. You mean not? Yeah.
For the development portion.
For the
Right.
development. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
on that, we can have it put on the building and shine back out too, to cover the parking lot.
Hmm.
So if they don't have poles and stuff in, we can do it that way.
Mhm.
I'm sure around our office, we'll want to have some lights up and have the parking lot lighted. We don't want the girls going in at night later on in the dark.
I believe this site plan, Councillor Westgate, did account for exterior lighting, but not on the, but as this parking lot to the south of Front Street, municipally owned, is not included in the site plan, it would not have
Yeah,
included any
no.
lighting plan.
Okay,
And yeah, so that would be the highlights of the update report.
I had a couple things I was going to ask you about. One was the crosswalk. You answered that.
Yep.
Line painting at the Warwick Fire Hall. You said the line painting was done. That was not done, was it?
To my no, I don't think the painting at the fire hall was done. So I'll look into that.
I'd like to get that painted and then we could have proper parking where you keep the cars out of the doorway and have the road like a smaller roadway.
Yep.
Mobile sweeping will paint it.
What's that, sorry?
Mobile painting or sweeping, the people that you had to do the sweeping.
We actually get the county, the county
Yeah, but I
does all our
bet they-
painting.
Okay, they might do it cheaper, but
Which location is this?
The Warwick Hall,
When-
do you mean, Jerry?
yes, I do.
Oh, okay, my apologies. I thought you were speaking about it.
It's included in the contract with the paving company. And Teresa has, not Andrew, Teresa's been working to coordinate painting at a number of locations. So the
Okay.
arena in front of a number of locations, and I don't believe it's been completed yet. And we just had a follow-up email from our Chief Goodhill actually on painting lines at the Warwick Hall. So we will follow up, but to Andrew's credit, this isn't his project. So he will,
That's the
we'll all
confusion.
make sure to help follow up on that.
It would be nice. I just noticed when we parked out there the other night. If we had the people in the right spots, it would be nice. And you have quite a few spots there. There's a patch on Gold Street to do. Were you going to get these guys to do it when they're paving in town now, or?
I've got the same crew that I used last year
Okay,
that did a great job. So I've sent them a list of spots, and when they can get at it, they
okay,
will.
that's good then.
Yep.
The walkway going from the arena through to the street, through Memorial Gardens there. At the end of it, it's awful dark. I don't know whether there's any, I know we have lights along it, but I've had complaints about where they come out onto the street. At night, it's quite dark.
Could we put a solar powered one up there, Jerry? Just,
I don't know what we could do. It probably could, whether it would work all the time or not, but it is a bad spot to have people walking through there.
Councillor Westgate, we could
Yeah.
take that as a follow-up action for the
Yeah.
minutes for Teresa to look into options for us.
Good. And that's all I had. Wayne?
Andrew, I'm still getting calls complaining about the corners with the cattails and that. I know First School and Churchill and First School and Confed are really bad to make a left-hand turn. Can we get in there with a weed whacker and knock them down or something?
Yeah, we certainly, we can use our lawn, like our tractor with the,
I don't know if it'll
Um,
reach. It might.
okay.
The
So
ditch is pretty steep and then the cattails are in the ditch. You might be able to.
First School and Churchill, did you say?
And First School and Confed are the two my neighbors are telling me about.
No problem. We will certainly have a look.
Thank you.
If it's Phragmites, that program has started. So while that's not immediate, it will. They've started that. So we can't necessarily cut it down if we want to treat it properly. If it's Phragmites, it's cattails, no problem. We can get that taken care of. But if it's Phragmites, you got to let the product do its thing and soak into the plant. So if it becomes a catch-22, I guess. If it's a big traffic hazard, we'll have to cut it
Well,
down.
have
Treat it
Rick
like
have a
sure.
look at it or something.
Yep. We will certainly address it.
Jackie?
I was just wondering, did the second lift of Victoria Street, it's not done yet, is it?
No, it's not.
When is it in planning to get done? Is it-
It'll be this year. So
Okay. I was just hoping before school started, but I guess wasn't possible.
no, and they do have a few deficiencies to follow up with, but it will happen this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
Other questions? We'll go on to B. Nevu Road and Confed Line intersection update. I guess that's Andrews.
Yep, I can provide an update to this. So just to bring council up to speed and the Public Works Committee, council put forward a motion to essentially have the county put this intersection in the forefront so they can make any changes or at least do analyze traffic patterns so we can determine what exactly do we need at that intersection to make it safe today and projected in the future for till 2025. So they did just that. They had an engineering assessment of the existing traffic conditions prior to making a planning on the intersection improvements. So what if you look, if everybody has that in front of them, it'll make a lot more sense if you go to figure 1 in the attachment. And that gives you an idea of what the engineer has proposed would be required at the intersection to take care of any future conditions projected to 2025. So what they've recommended is essentially dedicated right-hand and left-hand turning lanes, as well as removing the slip lane that goes from Confederation Line into a northerly direction onto Nauvoo. So the recommendation would be, of course, to remove that and reconfigure the intersection with proper curbing and, of course, turn lanes. What it does not include, and we tried to make that clear, is this does not include street lights. So their recommendation is not putting in lighting, street lighting. So as such, they've proposed that they will cover 3/4 of the cost of the intersection, and the township would be responsible for 1/4. But that would not include the lights because their engineering study had determined that it's not warranted. There's also a bunch of other costs that are unknown that would be the responsibility of the township. And I tried to outline those the best I could, but they would be, you know, there's a Laws water main. To move that would, of course, be costly. Sanitary, Enbridge, gas mains, communications. So while the initial number doesn't look too scary, I think, well, Trevor, I don't want to steal it from you, but he'd mentioned throwing another 0 on the end of our 150,000 and may not be terribly far off. It's a wild guess. I wouldn't want to commit to any number, but I think it could be quite costly just to be prepared before we decided to go down that route.
Todd?
So that, in doing this process, if we did decide to go here, you'd rough in for stoplights and everything in that process?
That's
Even
correct. It would be roughed in, yeah. Which wouldn't be a significant cost. That's.
But it would make it simple to put more, easier to install them in the future.
Absolutely.
Wayne?
What did the engineer recommend then, if not lights, for controlling traffic? Just leave it as is?
No, the recommendation, so right now, when you come to, well, I think there's changes on all 4 legs of the intersection, but most notably on Confed, there isn't dedicated turn lanes. So now there will be dedicated left and right turn lanes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe going northerly, it's now a straight through and a right as opposed to I think it's a reverse right now. And there's a dedicated left-hand turning lane. And then of course, going southerly on Nauvoo, there'd be a dedicated left, a straight through and a right.
So we would still have the stop signs.
They still the stop signs? Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
that's what I want.
Yes, the stop signs are still.
This would improve it a whole lot. Okay.
I think
What do you want to
it's
do with
gonna
this?
have to get done eventually. So if it doesn't go in this year's budget, we should be putting some money in for a budget down.
Yep, I agree. This would,
Todd?
this would also close that turn on that goes around the old Max as well. Okay. So that would be eliminated. Okay.
Whose property would that become, Andrew? Is this another dead end street we'll have?
The lane that's removed,
Yes.
it would be, I guess, at the wishes of council, but that, I mean, I don't want to speak out of line, but that potentially could be.
Keep it as an
sold.
easement.
Yeah, easement sold as development property. It could be a multitude of things, I suppose.
Well, all I was thinking is our dream plan there for a while was to put a walkway out along there. I'd hate to give up that property right in case that was part of the walkway.
Yeah, it could be one of those things you hold on to
Yeah.
for that reason. It's like, okay, well, we'll give you this land as long as you give us room for a walkway.
Amanda?
Just a comment on that, Councillor Morris, is the way that lane is right now, it does make redevelopment of that max property quite nearly impossible to meet setbacks and everything like that. So if the redevelopment of that corner was something that council wanted to see, there may be opportunity with adding a different configuration and moving forward with maybe disposal of that land so that perhaps some land assembly could happen on that
Okay.
corner.
All right.
And I
But
would
that's a
like to,
decision that could be made in the future, absolutely.
I would like to keep the walkway away from that busy corner anyway. I would like to come out at the arena where people can park and walk the loop or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Todd?
So decommissioning that road, we'd work it up, seed it down, but still have a road allowance there, or that we don't ish. Is that right?
My vision would be to leave it like it is, sell the whole property, turn it over to a developer and let them
Mhm.
develop it.
Yep. But we have, by having a little ownership in there, we have some say, right?
Right.
Just thinking.
So
And that is ours, not the county or Middlesex.
Oh, they gave it to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Road. Yep.
So in the, so the decision on what to do with the lands that would no longer be needed certainly could be fleshed out for this project. In terms of if this were proceeded with and the turning lanes were installed as per the proposal from the county, we could simply close the road, right, and block it off and not use it while we then, consider options for rerouting servicing and or what to do with the land.
Sounds
Good.
good.
Good. Any
So
other questions?
I think Councillor Westgate, and sorry, Andrew, I'm going to take this from you. From a county perspective, the Public Works Department is looking for some indication from our council on whether this proposed figure 1 is acceptable to them, and also is acceptable to you, and also timeline, right? So the county also would like to look at building this project into their future budgets. Andrew's in our conversations with them, we've informally expressed that we think this is a priority for council, although understanding we never speak for you. And we're just wondering if there was any guidance on that. And I would, if there was willingness to approve, I'd love a resolution to help us with our conversation with the county.
Todd?
I think that corner is going to become busy with the development in the area. So I think it does need to get on the planning to get it done. So I would move that it looks like a good layout to me. It gives lots of flow through. And I know there's a lot of traffic that commutes daily across Confed all the way into Sarnia and also out to the 402. So it's a busy corner, and
Yeah.
it's dangerous right now.
I guess I would like to have the engineering put in our budget for next year and the project the following year.
Yeah, that would be great. I would agree. I'll make that motion that Jerry just said.
I second the motion.
So
Is
to
that
clarify,
doable?
go ahead and vote.
Is everybody all in favor?
Just to clarify, council, this is like, we're talking potentially a $1.5 million investment
Yep.
from, okay. I just wanted to make that very
We
clear.
just down the road from there, a large potential development happening. So
Trevor?
I'm on mute. If we can do it so that we can get the engineering done in Q3, Q4 of next year so that we can get all the costs in 2022, would that satisfy council?
I can work with that timeline.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I don't think we're putting another million behind that, another zero. I mean, what have we got there? We've got low pressure gas. Our
A
sewer
laws
system-
line,
Where's the sewer? Yeah.
The laws
Our
line.
laws line doesn't have to be touched.
no, it does.
Why?
Does it not, Andrew?
Yeah, it's within that slip lane.
We have water lines underneath roads all over.
But if the road doesn't exist anymore, there wouldn't typically be a line.
The road is still going to be there.
The Mission has a laws line under it. No? Is that what you're talking?
The
The
ramp.
The main line goes right across Confed.
There is a line that goes, yeah, across to Confed, but there's also a line that goes up to Nauvoo.
Is that
Using
the
the
old
ramp,
4-inch
Andrew?
line you're speaking of?
Sorry, repeat that.
Is that the old 4-inch line you're speaking of?
No, it's, I believe it's a 12-inch.
Oh, okay, it's not what I'm thinking.
It's the first feed that we had into town. But I don't see why that has to be moved.
So
well,
Councillor Westgate, is it council's vision that this project to redo this intersection would include full, removal and restoration of the existing ramp and all related servicing? Is that the intent?
Of,
So to implement figure 1 as proposed by the county, obviously there would be no more continued use of the ramp that connects Confed to Nauvoo. Is it the intent of council to remove that ramp and restore it to not a roadway?
you mean the ramp that's not shown on here?
That's not shown, yes.
Yeah, the one by Max.
Why does that need to be in on this project?
Mhm.
I think it would hinder, it doesn't have to be done immediately, but it would hinder any type of future development of that quadrant of the
We
intersection.
can close that ramp down anytime.
But you're saying there's water under it.
Water,
There's
gas,
water, gas, fiber, some sanitary.
and sanitary sewer that goes to the industrial park.
Can't there just be an easement and not stay there?
Not if you want to develop that, not if that property is ever going to be developed.
It depends on what's going to be there.
Yeah.
But we can wait until the development is proposed and then do changes as needed. Could we not?
But-
I would
Option,
think
yes.
so.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
If they put a parking lot over that,
Shouldn't have to change
Shouldn't have
any
to
of the
move it.
underneath infrastructure.
build a grocery store over 8-foot diameter storm drain.
That's true. Yeah, I agree with.
Yeah.
Well,
So
then
what
that just saved us a lot of money, guys.
Let's hope.
To
I'm
not
all
have
for
to
it.
do that.
I'm saying just do what's on this drawing that we have figure 1.
And close off, but close off that ramp, like,
Why do we really need to
Use
close
it.
off the ramp?
Because I don't think they'll let you have both a turning lane and the ramp.
Well, we can close it off if that's the case.
Yeah.
You just close off the usage of it, but you don't have to change any of the infrastructure until it absolutely has to be done.
And would that include, so just simply closing it, absolutely no restoration of the asphalt, just leave it?
I would for now.
For now,
Yep.
because it'll probably change not too
Because
long.
it needs work anyway, does it not, Andrew? Like if we were to continue using it, we would have to redo the asphalt sooner than later.
Yeah, it's not in great condition.
It's not, so it would make sense to do this instead of do that. Gives us the upgrade that we need for the intersection.
I'd like to see what the engineers come back with as a number, and then, like, I agree, why touch it either? The utility lines, like, let's find out what they come up with.
I think I'll need clarification on that.
Okay,
So do you want that included to get a price then to do all that?
Just to shut it down. I think we leave everything there the way it is.
For now, anyway.
For now, yeah. It's to
shutting
do,
it down can be as little as 2 concrete barriers put across it.
yep,
And sign removal. Okay.
Yep.
So to clarify, if I may, Councillor Westgate, or Chair Westgate for the minutes, is that we've had the motion that was approved, said proceed, with the figure 1 drawing. So we are in support of the county's proposal for figure 1 drawing for reconstruction of Navajo and Confederation line intersection. And the direction to staff at this time is to plan to complete engineering budget work on this in 2021, with the reconstruction occurring in 2022. And additionally, direction provided that at this time, the municipal intent is not to restore or complete any restoration on the existing ramp, but rather just to stop and close it to allow for the reconstruction to occur. Is that accurate?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
And Andrew, is
I
that
hope
clear
that's
for you?
doable.
Very clear. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Good. Anybody else have anything they want to say before we adjourn?
I just wondered, does the county come up with anything? They were studying the corner of Nauvoo and Egremont. Did they ever come up with any thing on it?
I don't think they've done a study there yet, Wayne.
Okay, I know it was requested or whatever, but I didn't know if it ever got off the ground.
I think they're
Was it
looking at putting a
requested, Amanda?
roundabout there.
I heard that, Jerry, but I haven't heard anything official from them.
I think that was decided quite a while ago that they were going to put a roundabout there.
mhm.
It hasn't gone through as far as the county budget. I know they're talking about a roundabout, but it's not in that area.
Mhm.
I think we would have to make a formal request for the study to be done, would we not, Amanda? Or for
So
them to look at it?
I'll look at Andrew as I say this, but I believe that this restoration of the Nauvoo and Egremont intersection is in their 5-year capital plan. But I am not sure on timing. And I agree, there's been discussion on a roundabout, but I have not received any notification that that's actually the design mechanism. Andrew has more to add here, looks like.
And I'm just going off memory. I think that was the priority, that intersection, until council directed them to maybe switch and make the Confed and Nauvoo intersection a priority. So I think that's why you haven't seen anything. There are, lots of rumors, but I don't think this became the priority, the Confed intersection.
Good. So motion to adjourn? Todd? Jackie? All in favor?
See you later, folks.
Yeah, see ya. Bye.